to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for joining us today. Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high-impact life. Now, here's Rick.
Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I'm Rick McDaniel. It's great having you with us again today. We are going to continue doing just individual themes for these episodes as we finish out season 6, and we still got a month to go here, so we're not ending quite yet, but just want to say that that's the direction we're going to be going instead of staying with a particular theme. Last week, we talked about marriage. Today, I want to talk about finances. Next week, we'll talk about leadership. Then we'll talk about success and dreams. And so we'll just hit different subjects that I think are helpful and have shown themselves through the years of doing this that people are very interested in them. And I always like to talk about finances occasionally, not a whole lot, but I mean, it's a big part of your life. Everyone needs money to live. And if we can do better with our money, then that's certainly a good thing. Before we jump into that, let me just tell you that this past Sunday, I came out with a new piece, another new article on foxnews.com entitled "Portugal's Nationwide Blackout Taught Me About a Power Source That Never Fails." So it's an article where I talk about what happened when an entire country, actually two countries, Portugal and Spain, 59 million people were without power. Just let that sink in for a moment. 59 million people, no power. And I was in Portugal at the time. I talk about that experience and what it's like when there's no cell service and restaurants can't be open to serve food and trains stop running. It is wild, 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 wild. And it was a wild experience. There's no doubt about it. It was really unique. And then I share about the power of God, that there's never an outage with his power. His power is always on. Share a couple of incredible stories about people who, with God's power, were able to break free of addiction and receive healing from a tumor. I mean, just really, it's powerful stuff. So go find it. You can just type in my name and all the articles I've written will come up. And you could probably go to the opinion section and scroll back a number of days and you'd find it that way, but it's probably easier to just type in my name. But whatever you want to do, I highly encourage you to read that article. If there is something in your life where you're struggling, maybe it's, you just can't seem to get the open door. God opens doors. The power of God opens doors that no one else can open. And maybe there's some kind of obstacle in the way in your life, and God's power can demolish those obstacles. Maybe there is some type of addiction, bondage, and God breaks those. So if you need God's power in your life, and maybe if you're even skeptical of it, is that possible? Is it real? Read this article and just see what can happen. And also just hear about, because it really was not covered in America the way that I thought it would be. Probably because it ended up only lasting about 14 hours. If it had gone into, a second day, I think it would have been all over. It was certainly all over the European news, but it would have been all over American news if that had happened. But it is a wild story. I mean, I've never heard of anything where two entire countries, 59 million people, are without power. I mean, you think about something like that happen in the United States, 59 million people, and that would be multiple states. That would be incredible. So worth the read. So you can look at that. Also, if you don't follow me on social media, I was on something called the World Shaker Society talking about the power of relationships and really good stuff with Tim Story. And if you want to hear that or hear little clips of that, then go on to Rick McDaniel on X or Rick McDaniel _official on Instagram. And you can find it, Facebook, Rick McDaniel, HIL, which stands for High Impact Living, wherever you might want to go for your social media. It's posted on all of those different formats, and I would highly encourage you to to watch those clips, and that was a great experience being on there and talking about all those things. All right, let's get into it today. 10 ways to save money all the time. 10 ways to save money all the time. So we're coming into the summer season when you want to do stuff, and sometimes what holds you back is money. We're always going to be in a situation where we are looking at our finances and is there a way to stretch our dollars? There's really just two things you can do. You can either increase your income or decrease your spending. You don't have to be an economist to understand that. Today, I'm going to focus on the decreasing part. What can we decrease? What can we save so that we have more money to use on the things that we really want to use them on? All right, here's the first one, and it's definitely number one. Join loyalty programs. I mean, there's just really nothing like these rewards programs that are out there, and there are so many. There are so many. There are the obvious ones that I'll talk about, like the credit card ones. But I mean, you can join loyalty programs with restaurants and supermarkets and gas, and it runs the gamut. And man, you can really, really, really save. And I'm a huge believer. A lot of people say, Rick, how are you able to do so much traveling? And the answer really is these loyalty programs. The trip that I just took to Portugal and Spain, I flew for free. My wife and I both flew for free with points. Didn't pay for those flights at all. And we've done this. It's not like that's the first time. We've probably flown to Europe 5 or 6 times for free. We've flown to Hawaii for free. I mean, you can't beat it. So the loyalty programs, they really work. Now, you've got to work them, when they're like, have something special, like lots of times, like with, say, Hilton, they'll be like, sign up for our double your points. And then if you stay during that time, your points double. I mean, that really, really, really adds up. I stayed, wasn't with Hilton, but with another hotel, and they had a double your points. And man, I doubled my points because that was a little more expensive. And then all those points were doubled. And then that allowed me later on in the year to stay at a hotel in Washington, D.C. And those hotels are expensive. They're always expensive. It doesn't matter what time of year. It's either expensive or really expensive for the cherry blossoms or Christmas or whatever it might be. And I was able to stay for free because I would not have had nearly enough points, but the double points makes a big difference. And then you look at something like rental cars. The points with rental cars, I mean, that is really, really can add up. Now, they're not all the same. There's a Breeze airline that flies out of Richmond here, and they fly direct to, I've flown them direct to Phoenix and Los Angeles and San Francisco, and they fly direct actually from here to my hometown, Bradley Airport in Hartford, Springfield Airport, which the airport's actually in Windsor Locks, which is where I grew up. And so flown there. All the flying I've done with them, I've never gotten a free flight. So they're not, these loyalty programs are not all the same by any means. Some are definitely much better than others. Hilton has a lot of those double points. And then another thing is, if you stay long enough, then you move up. Like I got up to diamond status with Hilton, and then I was getting triple. Like my points were triple, not even on a special promotion. It just, that was happening every time I stayed. Well, when you start doing that every single stay, wow. Lately, I've been staying for certain reasons, needed to stay at Marriott hotels. And so now I'm racking up my points with Marriott, same sort of thing. So, if you're really strategic about it, maybe you choose the hotel, all things being equal. On this trip I just took, stayed at 2 Marriott properties, also stayed at properties that weren't Marriott because those were the ones I wanted to stay at. But if push come to shove and everything's about equal, I'm going to take the place with the points. So, again, you can get money off your gas by going in a particular supermarket that has gas pumps as well. I mean, that can really add up, and on the list goes. You really, really, really need to take advantage of loyalty programs. You are leaving money on the table. Absolutely. And again, you might, you give me a free dessert at that restaurant. Oh, free dessert's, $8 or $10. Okay. But I think that's something, by the way, 30 cents off your gas, you fill up 20 gallons, that's $6. You say, well, you do that enough times. And then again, you get into a free hotel for $150 or $200 a night. Wow. How about free international flights? You can see how it works. All right. I got a lot more to talk about, but that one, please don't miss that. And then there is the the cashback options, the cashback credit cards that pay you money back no matter where you shop. And obviously you don't want to overspend just to get money back, but you're really you can, that can work for you. Now sometimes you have to choose between cashback and points, and I don't particularly like that one. I know, like, for instance, with Costco, you can get 2% back on all of your purchases. Well, that place is just giving you great deals all the time. And then sometimes they have, they'll have like $5 off on something that's already a great price to begin with. So imagine how much you're saving. And I know that you think, well, that's only for like large purchase, bigger families. But really, it's just my wife and I now. And we still, things like milk and eggs and fruit, for a guy like me, it's a lot of fruit. It works. It still works. The larger quantities stuff's not going rotten, and we're still saving on those sort of staple things. And there's stuff that you can freeze if you buy a couple loaves of bread instead of one, and then you take the other one out. And the same thing applies. Dog food, dog treats, dog toys. If you have dogs, man, there's a kind of a toy that is the only one that I've found that my dogs cannot destroy immediately, called Kong. And you can go places and it'll be $15 for one toy. You can go to Costco and then they'll put like a $4 off or something. You can get 4 toys for $15. I mean, stuff like this, the saving money and using the cash back. And then again, after all that, you get 2% back on all your spending at the end of the year, whenever your subscription comes up for renewal. I mean, it's just free money. You can use it. Another is to just check on your subscriptions. And this has never been more appropriate than now. You've got all the streaming services, online music, software. You really got to keep on top of it. It's just to say, do I need all these? Am I using all of these? How much money am I spending each month? Maybe you've even forgotten about things, and they've got these apps now that'll go and look for you, and you might be shocked to find out, like, oh my gosh, I'm paying for that. I didn't even realize that. Imagine if you end up looking around and you're saving $50 a month. That's $600 a year. You start putting all these things together now, and it really starts to add up. It really does. And before you know it, you're like, you know what, I can take that vacation, because $600 here and $200 there, and a free night hotel here, and a free rental car. And before you know it, it's like, you know what, this might actually be able to happen, when your first thought might have been, yeah, I don't have that kind of money. I can't pull that off. And then you find out, you know what? I actually can. Here's another one, the DIY, do it yourself. I mean, I'm not going to claim that I'm a big do it yourself guy, but what I will say is that there's things that can be done, especially, for me, it's a time versus money sort of thing. You'll have to make that calculation for yourself. But what I can tell you is, with the kind of stuff that's out there with YouTube tutorials, I mean, it is kind of unbelievable stuff that you could never know how to do. And now, you're like, oh wow, this isn't really that complicated. This isn't really, we did something where the navigation thing on my wife's car went out, and it's you have to buy sort of this whole thing, and dealership's going to charge a significant amount of money, and turns out you can buy one of those on YouTube. You can buy one of those online at a fraction of the cost, and then YouTube videos show you how to do it. And sometimes it's complicated because they'll show you the exact installation, and then you got to take some screws out here, do something there. And I've got folks that can help me, and you may have folks that can help you that are handy and wouldn't mind doing it, and certainly wouldn't mind doing it for free lunch or babysitting help or something like that. But that one right there, that was an amazing savings. I mean, it was almost $1,000. Just think about that. $1,000. You see where I'm going with this? It's $600 here, and it's $1,000 here, and then you talk about flights, and we're getting. This is not small money. We're not in the small here. We're in the big. We're in big savings that really, really, really can add up. All right, here's another one, just making your bills automated, automatic setup. We're busy, got packed schedules, and sometimes you can kind of forget to pay bills, and then the late fees hit you, and those are costly. And if you set up the automatic payments, then you ensure that they get paid on time and there's no late fees. And then, of course, there's the auto pay is really like a time savings, because instead of taking time to manually pay your bills, it's on auto pay, so it happens automatically. You could even improve your credit score because you're building a history of consistently paying on time. You're avoiding any sort of overdraft fees. And man, those things can be huge, like $35 or something. I mean, that adds up fast, and it's not $35 once, it's like $35 if you wrote 3 checks, and that could be $105, right? Not just 35. So it's really something to look at and to consider, like, maybe I want to set this up and automate it, and then it saves me time, and it makes sure that I don't have those overdraft fees. Now, this is another one, speaking of those, and that is maybe it's time to switch bank accounts. Banks make a lot of money on those fees. And hitting people that are paying their bills month to month, you don't want to get hit with those overdraft fees. And then some have the minimum balance requirements. And so you might say to yourself, maybe this isn't really working for me. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, because I did it once a while ago. It's a pain to change banks. It's not simple. And we get into this whole auto pay thing that we were just talking about. You set that up. But, you might have to sort of bite the bullet and, take the pain once. Because if you can get a bank that, has fee-free accounts, then, man, you're really, really doing well. And, you might want to do is just call your bank and say, listen, I'm thinking about switching because I don't like these fees and the new place doesn't have them. And maybe they'll be like, okay, we're going to give you a fee-free account then, or we're not going to require a minimum amount in your balance anymore. Things like that. And it's like, hey, same thing works with credit cards too. Same thing. You can negotiate for a better rate. You can negotiate for anything. Jesus said, ask. Ask and you will receive. You can never receive anything that you don't ask for. So ask. Say, hey, I've done this. I did this with cable company before. I did this with car insurance. I've done it like, hey, I'm going to switch unless you can make this better. And every single time I've asked, they've made it better. So there's something to be said for simply asking. But like one of the things that we did, we switched to a credit union because credit unions really don't have a lot of these charges and they do better. And one of the things that they do is it's no matter where you take money out of an ATM, you never get charged. Now, a lot of times if you're a guy like me that travels, be in another state or even another country, because ATM is a very good way to get cash in another country, because then you get the exchange rate through your bank instead of in other ways. That's another whole tip. Never get money at the exchange places, at the airport, or any tourist places, train stations. The way to do it, trust me, the way to do it is through your bank. But in my case, whatever that fee, I got to pay $5. It's waived. Initially, it's charged, and then a couple days later, there's a credit, $2.50, $5, whatever. I never pay for those fees. So something to think about. Here's another one. Can you look at your budget, and see where you might be able to just in a basic way trim, like a budget gives you an idea, right, where your money's going, and there's apps and websites that can help you to establish a budget if you're not using one, tracking your money. If you already have one, make sure you need to update it because things change. Does it reflect your current income and expenses? And what you might find is that you've got more money left over, and you should be doing something with that money. And when you look at your budget, you're like, yeah, let's adjust some things here. And then you could automate your savings. Talk about automating your payments. That's how I ended up buying my first house, is I automated my savings and had money taken out every month. And then I switched to actually twice a month, which is, I have that to this day. Money comes out twice a month into my savings, which is just a marvelous thing, because then you always have a fund. You always have a reserve fund, but you can also use it to save something, like for a house or a car or something like that. So it's always good to reevaluate your budget and just see where are you at with your spending. How are you doing with your spending? And again, if you increased income and then it's like, well, what did we do? Increase spending at the same time because there's no more money left over. You got to get control of that money and find out where it's going, and then you can have a better chance at doing something with it. I've talked about this in other episodes, but this whole power of investing and compound interest and eighth wonder of the world and all that stuff. I mean, there's nothing like it. There's nothing better than making money while you do nothing. And you need to be in that boat. We're focusing here on the saving, but in this case, saving money, cutting spending so you can invest. What's the way to go? All right, well, this leads to the next thing, which is really a scrutinizing, where you're asking yourself, I want to scrutinize, not just I'm looking at my budget, but now I want to really dig in at, like, does my spending align with my goals? Like maybe you just journal every expense, every single one. Get yourself a pad, get yourself a nice little journal book, and just write them all down for like a month. And just ask yourself, man, is this really, this isn't really lining up. Like, I have goals. Like, again, let's just go back to like a nice summer vacation. Because really, it's just crucial to do this. We need rest. We need relaxation. We need rejuvenation. Family time. I'll never forget, I used to do this. There was a time when we took our kids to Cape Cod every year. My wife and I are both from New England. We're living in Virginia. We wanted them to sort of experience our roots. And there's a bridge that you go over, Bourne Bridge, where you kind of cross over, because Cape Cod's technically, got a little canal there that separates it. And we would go over that bridge, and I would always have and I'm not a big baseball cap wearing kind of guy because I have a full head of hair, so I'm not hiding anything. But anyway, I'll wear a hat certainly when I'm at the beach, for instance, and I'd have that hat with me, and the moment we crossed over that bridge, I'd put that hat on, and I'd say, "Vacation Dad." And my kids would cheer. They would literally cheer because they knew that meant a little more lax, a little less discipline, a little more leeway than Dad is usually giving us. That means more trips for ice cream, more fun stuff, and just more chill approach to. I'm a type A driven sort of guy, alpha male, all that stuff. So when I'm in my element working, I'm going for it. But my kids knew Dad's going to be more chill than normal, and we're going to love every minute of this. So your family needs it, and those family experiences are so great, and those become stories in your family that you talk about forever. So you want to have the money to do that. And so here's another within the same thing, making every dollar count. So, just really look at how can you use like sales and coupons. I was talking about Costco. If they're going to send out their little circular, they're going to tell you these things are $4 or $5 off, and it's already a good price to begin with. There you go. But any sort of buy one get one free, whatever, these things add up. They really do add up. And make sure you're always reviewing your receipts. I have caught so many mistakes through the years. I can't even tell you how many times I've caught mistakes. You can put all your loose change into, which is what I do, and then my bank has the machine, and you dump all the change in there, and then automatically takes whatever that amount is and deposits it into your account, to your savings account. And last time I did it was like $115. I mean, it's just spare change, right? Well, spare change, it adds up. And then again, just the whole thing of just savings and stuff like that. I mean, it's just remarkable, really, how that really can add up over time when you just buy stuff and you don't pay full price for it. And that applies to all the different things you do. I mean, you can really, $1 saved is $1 earned. That's what Ben Franklin said. And it is so, so, so true. All right. Find a way. And this is a big one, is just really being willing to have some inconvenience in order to save money. So, for instance, instead of going out and buying the breakfast sandwich and the coffee, you have the cereal or the yogurt at home, you make your own coffee, and it adds up. I mean, it really adds up, the difference in those two things. And of course, instead of going out for lunch, you make your lunch ahead of time. Or how about this? Instead of getting delivery or carry out, I mean, this delivery stuff is insane. I just am blown away. I get a $15 credit from American Express with Uber. It can be Uber Eats. And sometimes I get to the end of the month and I haven't used it. And so, I'll just say, well, I'm going to use it. And I'm just blown away at what a delivery, there's a delivery charge, and then there's this mysterious charge, which is never the same amount. And then they want a tip on top of it. And you put all that together, and it is very easy to end up with that equaling like $10. So imagine you just $10 just adding to your spending. It's just, I can't see it. And there's people, I've talked to people who know people who use this all the time. And I mean, you're going to get 10, 10 becomes 100, and it becomes hundreds really, really, really quick. So the whole eating out thing, versus meal planning in terms of your diet, and, you could do so much better when you meal plan. And boy, oh boy, you just look at, some of these things are not as convenient as maybe you would like them to be, but these small sacrifices really, 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 really add up over a period of time. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That is the case. That is absolutely, positively the case. So this is the savings side. Now, obviously, if you can increase the income, that's a whole nother discussion. And again, investment is one way to increase the income over time. But you put these kind of principles into play, and what's going to happen is you're simply going to have more money to save, which you could invest, which will make even more money. Or in this analogy I've been using today, because I think it's important, is make this your vacation fund. Like, just apply all these principles here and see if you can't end up saving money and getting enough points, and before you know it, you could take a vacation for a fraction of the cost of what it really would be, and you're able to do it. So use your money wisely, friends, and it'll make you happy. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.